Hello and welcome to Camp Xtras. It's no secret that I love the PlayStation Portable. Sony's first foray into handheld gaming is full of amazing games, but I don't think some of them get the love they deserve. So today I picked 5 PSP games I love, some hidden gems, and some based on hit franchises, but all of them I think more people need to play. Good for any new PSP fans or those looking for something new to try out. All footage was captured off of a PSP, and let's go ahead and hop into this list. First up on the list is Coded Arms. This was developed and published by Konami, releasing in 2005. I remember picking this one up from a pawn shop back in the day, not knowing what it was or that it even had a sequel, but soon after, I really fell in love with this game. This one has a mixed legacy, and I'll go into why, but for me, this is one of the best first-person shooters you can play on the console. With a really neat aesthetic and some cool ideas, it's a blast. In this game, you are a hacker exploring an abandoned military training virtual world, and you have to kill the enemies inside to extract important data from the virtual world. It's a very forward-thinking story, and though you don't get anything aside from some text, I think it sets up the world nicely. The digital-feeling world with lots of computer code and loading rooms, random assortments of monsters, and digital health and ammo pickups, it's a game meant to feel like a training room with no frills. I love that feeling, and the whole game has an awesome aesthetic. For 2005 on the PSP, this game looks stellar too, with some awesome zones to explore, and though levels can be a bit boxy, they're a lot of fun to jump around in. I also love the simple upgrade system, which makes the game feel like an RPG. You kill enemies and you can unlock equipment like flak jackets, weapon upgrades, and health upgrades. It rewards you for exploring levels and killing everything you see. It's a fun hook to the game, and throw in that this game's world is procedurally generated, and you're going to have something different every time. And this is a first-person shooter on a system that does not have 2 sticks, so this is an issue, but the game offers a lot of different control schemes, and I think you can find one that you enjoy the most. I do think the best one for me is just the face buttons used for looking. It's certainly not perfect and a bit stiff, but it works well with the auto-aim to make something that works. I get used to it every time I play this, and I think it works well enough and matches the strengths of the game to make something fun. It's all around just a gem on the console, and one that I wish more people would play. It's fun and addicting. Next is Infected. This was published by Majesco and developed by Planet Moon Studios in 2005. This is a third-person shooter set in a world where zombies are taking over the world, and you have to kill these zombies. It's a Christmas game too, so it's all blood, guts, and snow, which I think is a wonderful aesthetic that you don't see enough of in gaming. Once again, this game is all about entertainment over story, with not much going on plot-wise, but this one is rather unique and offers a lot of cool elements to make it stand out. In Infected, you pick between a whole bunch of different characters to shoot up zombies with, some of them being members of Slipknot, and even Rain from Blood Rain pops up. You get dropped down into different areas and zombies will flow at you, and you just need to gun them down. And it feels like an early example of a zombie survival game. Though this one is an arcade game through and through, it's all about getting scores and combos, blasting down zombies as quickly as possible. The more kills you get, the better weapons you get, and that feeds into this great sense of progression that's a blast. There's not a lot like it, and it has a great replay value to it. If you're into metal music, you will love the soundtrack and aesthetics of this game. It has bands like Slipknot, Trivium, and Fear Factory, and it gives this game a mid-2000s edge that I absolutely adore. Even though this isn't my favorite music in the world, it does match the in-your-face feeling of this game. And heck, even Junkie XL comes in to do some of the music, which is always cool. The in-your-face feeling matches the visuals, which are pumped full of blood and gore, and you'll blow heads off, and there's a bunch of screaming everywhere, and honestly, it's a visual delight for any horror fan. As a fan of horror, this game fits right into an edgy horror niche, which I don't think we see a ton of anymore. More about blood and just having fun. It's a super simple and easy to pick up game, which is perfect for a handheld, having you play a round or two in new locations, putting it back in your pocket for another round later. It's a great game well worth checking out. Next, let's talk about a racing game with Motorstorm Arctic Edge, which was developed by Big Studios and published by Sony in 2009. It also saw a release on the PS2 the same year as well. It's not a camp list without a racing game, and the PSP is chock full of amazing racing games. Its control layout is a perfect setup for racing titles, with its one stick and everything. One of the great PSP racers that I didn't know existed till way late, and I think more people should look at, is Motorstorm Arctic Edge. It's based on the big PlayStation Motorstorm franchise, but this one doesn't get enough recognition. This is a fast arcade racing game that has you mixing between a bunch of off-road vehicles, but instead of digging into dirt or island terrain, this one is set in an all-snow environment, taking this entry somewhere different with tons of white and so much snow to plow through. It makes for a visually striking game that stands out on the PSP. It's clean and the draw distances are excellent here. All of the tracks have great variation and the vehicles all look solid. I also like how much you can change the look of the vehicles. The controls are perfect for the PSP, and it's not really heavy and it allows you to slide around a lot. Something you are going to need because there's so many obstacles that pop up in your way and it's super easy to die. Not only that, but you are going to want to boost around everywhere you go. The boost meter is well done here, where you can use it till your vehicle explodes. And once you get to the maximum point, you just kind of have to manage it from there on out. It makes gameplay fast and the game gets tough the further you go on, so managing this becomes essential to winning large races. You also get a nice licensed soundtrack filled with rock from the period, but also weird pulls like Radiohead and Chemical Brothers. It really swings this pendulum on genres that I don't mind at all, giving this game a good variety. This is a cool and fast racing game, not going for something heavy, and is far more explosive. It captures the feeling of the console Motorstorm games perfectly, and it makes for an easy to pick up and play racing title where you can just do a race, put it down, and then come back to it. This is a game on the PSP that I find myself always coming back to nowadays. Next up is Resistance Retribution, which was released in 2009, developed by Bend Studio and published by Sony. You might be thinking, this is Resistance. People must have played this one, which is true, but I do sometimes think portable entries in major franchises don't get enough love. The Resistance franchise is one that I've played every game in and I really enjoy, but I do feel every mainline entry has its own issues. And there's no doubt in my mind that this one is the best Resistance game. I think more people should play it if they like the Resistance franchise, and you're in for a full-on treat on the PSP. In this game, you play as James Grayson, whose brother was turned into a chimera, and it's now become his full-blown obsession to kill every chimera that is invading the world. Here you get a nice story-based experience that takes place all across Europe. The continent is destroyed, and these disgusting aliens hide around every corner. This is another third-person shooter, but this game handles it so well. It has really easygoing auto-aim features, which makes shooting enemies easier, though I won't say it's a simple game. There is a cover mechanic, and the enemies have a ton of health, so you have to duck and shoot often. The levels do have a linear design, but they're set up in dynamic ways, such as apartment buildings you have to traverse up and down as you move along. The layouts of each room offer something unique, and though small, are packed with lots of detail. The level design works for a portable game, but not a lot of shooters on the console have the handle this game has on gameplay, with a great feeling to it. I also love that the weapon choices stick from the main series, with there being a ton of guns to choose from, all with different types of alternate firing. Resistance looks great on the PSP, though it is a bit drab in color. It makes sense with the state of the world in the game. It looks fantastic and clean on the PSP with some great animations for enemies and effects. This feels like a solid PS2 game that got the PSP treatment, and that's not a bad thing at all. To me, this is one of the best main franchise portable entries for the console and is my favorite Resistance game. This one needs more eyes on it because it's an excellent ride.
Something's there! Heads up! Bloody hell! Clear. Move.
The final game on today's list is Death Jr. It was released in 2005, published by Konami, and developed by Backbone Entertainment. I know this means no RPGs on this list since this is a platformer, but I wanted to save that for an all-RPG video since the PSP had so many, and if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. Death Jr. is an early PSP game that actually spawned a few sequels and is one that sticks in my mind. It's a cutesy platformer but with a smidge of dark humor, very reminiscent of Psychonauts. This is one on this list that I would not consider perfect, but has enough charm and entertainment to make it stand out. In this game, you play DJ and you go on a school field trip with your weird mix of classmates, with my personal favorite, Dead Guppy. Pandora finds a box and DJ opens it, and all hell breaks loose. You have to stop the evil forces and save your classmates in the many areas of the museum. I honestly think the story is simple, but it can be wickedly funny, bridging a line of looking kid-friendly, but the humor can be far from that. It's a fun ride. This is a platformer with a lot of options for movement. DJ is pretty limber and can wall jump, bounce with his scythe, and grab ledges with it. The movement is my favorite part of this game since you can jump all around and it's really fast once DJ gets going. It's a blast and there are many tough platforming challenges. However, the camera is the hardest part of the experience since you can't freely move it around unless you're in the first-person mode. Though the combat does make it a bit better, it's fast and fluid, having you move from melee to guns, and you get to upgrade these as you move along in the story and pick up the mini collectibles. The look of this game is not breathtaking on the PSP, but it does have a fun cartoony style. It can be really exaggerated at times, and I think all of the locales you visit are very creative. It feels a bit like a basic platformer for the time, but has this charm to it that makes it stand out. With a cartoony look and a crazy story with some really solid movement options, it stands out on the PSP, marking the start of a really forgotten franchise that I think more people should look at. But that is everything on this list today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to keep up with more content like this. Comment below with what games you would put on this list. I would love to hear from you. Check out my main channel, Camp Xbox, for retro Xbox content, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xtras.